my friends. David Rayn with Gray Matters Group here in Chicago, and I am delighted to be having another RX alumni conversation with a gentleman by the name of Dale Jordan. I met Dale back at Deloitte. I believe we did a program with you back in 2016, Dale. You've since moved on from Deloitte. You're at BDO now. I believe you're the Upper Midwest Tax Managing Director. Is that right? And then also I think you're also leading manufacturing and distribution on a national basis. Am I close?
We are directionally correct.
Okay.
I lead I'm the market leader for our Upper Midwest tax practice, and then also serve as the tax lead for our national manufacturing industry group. So
Fabulous. Fabulous.
yeah.
Dale, you and I reconnected recently. I want to say maybe a year and a half ago. Dale and I were at a networking event. Imagine that. And I think it was the Executive Club of Chicago. And Dale, you came up to me and remembered the program I did almost 8 years ago, if you can believe it. And you were so kind. I thank you. You go, I just remember a few of the nuggets from the relationship expansion for professionals program. And I really appreciate it. I don't want to put words in your mouth, just how it was taught, keeping it simple, giving a process, breaking down fear factor. And that has led to some continued conversation with your new firm, BDO. So again, thanks for reaching out on that front and refreshing the relationship. Dale, tell us the scope of work that you're doing these days. You just mentioned your title, but what does that entail?
So, I've been at BDO now for 3 years. And one thing that I have really enjoyed about my time here is the holistic relationship approach that we take. And it really very well into the programming that you've done and, being able to deploy some of those tactics in this role. So more specifically, I really look towards our client base and try to design ways in which we can help them in a holistic way, whether that be on the tax side, assurance side, et cetera. Obviously, with a strong background in tax, that's where I have a tendency to go.
Yeah.
But, it's really trying to deliver that relationship-based, and I hate to say selling, because I really don't view it that way. I really view what we do is building relationships, understanding problems, challenges within the Upper Midwest, and then helping our clients and prospects solve those challenges in the most efficient and effective way possible. And then on top of that, I lead our national industry group from a tax perspective. And there it's a little bit more honed in on really what does tax policy changes that are coming down the pipeline mean for our clients and our prospects? How do we deliver solutions, again, in an effective way that solves challenges and problems that they may be facing?
So Dale, primarily staying within the tax realm, is that what you're bringing to the table? BDO has obviously depth and breadth across lots of competencies. Sure. Are you finding yourself, especially on the manufacturing distribution side, kind of representing the broader breadth of your firm, or more sticking to the tax side of things?
It's a great question. Obviously, with tax being my background, again, it's kind of where I gravitate to, but we really pride ourselves on being business advisors in a holistic way. So if someone comes to me and they have a challenge with respect to profitability, can I help them in a way, whether it's bringing in an expert to do an 80/20 analysis, helping them with some margin analysis, et cetera, that's what we do. So again, tax is in the title, but Dave, you bring up a great point. It's really much more consulting in a holistic way to ensure that the client's getting the best of BDO at all levels.
Awesome. Tell me about your team. Do you have individuals who are assigned to you, or are you kind of pulling people out of different competencies to, kind of on the fly, bring a cross-functional team together? How does it work?
Sure. So absolutely cross-functional. And so, yeah, I do have a team that I typically go to and am responsible for. But really, the focus for me is who is the right person to bring in. And in order to do that, we have to have a national kind of viewpoint with respect to our internal team. And one of the things that I have found, and maybe I'm jumping ahead a little bit in our discussion, but one thing that I have found when it comes to relationship building, we have a tendency to naturally think about those external relationships. And we focus on building our pipeline or revenue generation. And sometimes we fail to think about how critical those internal relationships are.
Mm.
And they're critical from the standpoint of really understanding what people can do and the skill set that they can bring to serving a relationship that you have externally, as well as just trust and being able to really trust the individual you're bringing out to your relationship to ensure that they're going to deliver with the same level of quality, responsiveness, and expertise that you hold yourself accountable to.
Dale, I'm so glad you brought that up. We obviously, I talk about the emphasis of RX is really about how do we find other opportunities at the current clients that we're working with? How do we find our way into prospect, net new types of clients? But we also talk about the importance of building bridges internally. If we're going to bring the full capabilities of one's firm, especially the size of BDO, to the table for a client, we have to have those bridges built. We can't just stay in our silos. And so I love the fact that you personally recognize, but your firm recognizes that this relationship expansion game, it's internally focused as well. And those people who do a better job of building those relationships inside are probably going to be in a better position to service their clients in a broad way. So thank you for sharing that. Dale, one of the working titles that we're playing with right now for a kind of a mini podcast is this idea of every touch matters. And when I say that, people really resonate with it. They go, that makes complete sense, right? Every interaction matters. And it's not just the leaders like yourself who are taking on responsibility for a national practice or for a focus in a regional area. Every touch means all those downstream individuals on your team who are shaping that client experience, feeling that they have a responsibility for positively influencing that. What's your reaction to every touch matters?
Oh, I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. Along those same lines, you've heard the expression, it's not what you say, but it's how you make people feel. And I agree with both kind of comments wholeheartedly.
So
there's a lot.
Keep going. Keep going.
I say there's a lot of people as I kind of reflect back on my opening comment around within professional services. There's a lot of really strong technical folks that have the ability to deliver. What differentiates you from the next person in line? And if you can make people feel good and you can make sure that at the end of a meeting, someone understands you are committed to serving them and ensuring the best outcome for them, that's the differentiator. And that matters at all levels of the organization. If you're having a C-suite to C-suite discussion, that's important. You have to make sure that relationship is there. But if that C-suite's manager, staff person trusts your manager and your staff person, the level of collaboration that your team is going to be able to not only execute on, but again, differentiate themselves from your competition, it'll set you apart. So at all levels of the organization, you have to be willing and committed to building relationships, understanding what the needs are of the folks that you're working with. And the only way to do that is to invest time and energy into getting to know each other better.
Yeah. Dale, how are you setting that tone with your team? I work with a lot of professional services firms, and I'll be honest with you, many of them focus on, that senior partner, managing director. They own the account, they own the relationship. All you other minions below me, just bill your work, hit your utilization target. I'm going to own the relationship. And oh, by the way, don't step out of line and mess this thing up. I mean, How do you message on that in terms of we're all in this together?
Hmm. Well, the old adage, actions speak louder than words, are really something I live by when it comes to this. And uh, your question is spot on to a meeting that actually I'm going to be having on in 2 days. So I have a meeting in 2 days with a prospect, and I'm bringing one of our interns with us.
Hmm.
The reason I'm bringing our intern with us is for her to be able to see what a client meeting looks like.
Hmm.
Think about what it means when she's completing work at her desk and how that ultimately impacts the client relationship. And if we don't start early on, I think it does two things. One, we put an unrealistic expectation on our people for them just to be able to jump in feet first into relationship building and understanding what that means. And secondly, we're not really showing those that are up and coming what the profession could be. So
Hmm.
we're doing the profession in whatever professional services function you're in. You're doing a dysfunction to your team if you don't really get to show them and they don't get to see what it means to deliver upon your promises and value to your clients. So again, I may have been rambling there, Dave. I apologize, but it is something I'm passionate about.
I don't think so, Dale. It's clear that you, and I love to say, are enlightened. You get it. And again, I'm coming from a perspective of, hey, we need to be handing this down and modeling this behavior with the next generation. And I don't think you can start too early.
I agree.
And you're talking about interns who aren't even out of college yet. And the sad news there, Dale, is I just don't think a lot of these young people are getting the communication skills, the experience of just interaction, connecting. They're so focused on subject matter expertise, uh,
Absolutely.
and that concerns me, quite honestly. And the fact that this young person is, sitting at the knees of their at the knees of the master, listening, watching them execute in a real client situation. That's magnificent. I'm sure that young person is going home telling their folks, "Oh my gosh, this is brilliant." You and I met in 2016. It was a program called Lift for Deloitte in 2016. I think we had 45 or 50 senior managers from tax, from audit, from assurance, from advisory, from consulting.
Mhm.
And I'd be curious, when you got the invitation to that program. I mean, you knew you were on a fast track. You were doing great, but yeah, part of this milestone moment is Dave Rayn of Gray Matters is coming in where he's going to do relationship expansion for professionals. What was your
Sure.
reaction?
Well, I had two. The first one was, boy, I hope we're not reading from a textbook, right? As the person that's going to be presenting to us is going to be able to relate to real life situations and have they walked the walk before, which I give you credit within the first 30 seconds, you put that at ease. And then the second part was, what is going to be the ask of me
Mm,
after this, right? Because when a firm invests in their people like that, there's always an expectation of an outcome.
mm,
And one thing that really resonated with me, and frankly, your approach to the program was that you didn't ask participants to change. You didn't come in and say, here's what you have to do, and here's the script you're going to follow. You really challenged us in a way to think about where's your skill set? Where's your really magical wand or magical powers, if you will, and how do you deploy those more effectively? And then where you do have gaps, what kind of tools can be utilized within the program or elsewhere to help you fill that gap? So I felt really good about leaving kind of those sessions because I was still able to be me and
yeah.
deploy me in a way that I felt comfortable with, but yet had a couple new tools in my tool belt to be able to deploy as I went back to the office.
Boy, thank you for saying that, and I appreciate you we work very hard at the beginning of the program to kind of build some street cred and let folks know that, I don't think you can teach anyone anything until they're listening. And oftentimes at the beginning of a program, people are kind of going, why am I here? And this guy's going to try to turn me into something I'm not or don't want to be salesperson. And so that's why we do some table setting at the beginning to just kind of put people at ease and let them know, hey, each of you is going to take something different from this program. You don't have to apply everything, but if there's a few nuggets that are going to work for you that you can add into your repertoire in addition to your technical competence, we just move the needle.
Absolutely.
So that's great. I mean, most of the people that I ask that question, oh my gosh, I'm coming to this session, and the first reaction is, I haven't been asked to do this before. What is the ask on the back end? The ask on the back end is, hey, begin to do a better job of leaning into deepening current relationships, widening our circle of influence. At the end of the day, how do we measure impact? It's deal flow, right? It's incremental opportunities. It's more strategic, trusted relationships with our clients. It's activating more people to be on guard for ways that they can service their clients and generate revenue. So you had a taste. The LIFT program is a longer program than most of the other ones we do. I think it was about a 8 to 10 month program. So we did some initial teaching at the beginning, and then we had some checkpoints over that period of time. We asked how you're doing, how you applying the learnings in the field. People kind of gave a readout in terms of how they're doing, what the results have been, and I love that part, quite honestly, because I'm not doing the teaching anymore. You are. You're reinforcing the learnings by putting voice to that, and also speaking to, oh my gosh, some good things are happening out there, and it just only emboldens. That's typically what happens. What did you find coming out of that LIFT program? Were there certain learnings that were really that just kind of hit you over the head?
Yeah, for me, there was one that was really impactful and certainly is serving me very well here at BDO, given my role. And that is taking the time to reflect on a potential opportunity or relationship. We in professional services are so eager to help. Or when someone asks for a meeting, we just go, we charge ahead, right? And in my current role, I get a lot of opportunities put in front of me, whether they're for myself, our team members. And really the program challenged me to think about how relationships come together, and is it something that I want to be a part of? At BDO, I look at it from the standpoint of when an opportunity comes to me to analyze, I think about it from the standpoint of, is this a transactional relationship, or is this person looking to build a long-term relationship with someone new? And if it's the latter, I'm much more eager to meet that person, to invest time and energy into what they're doing and what they're trying to accomplish, because I know that we're both in it for the right reasons, as opposed to kind of that transactional ask. And I'm not saying we walk away from all the transactional asks, not at all. But those are the ones you really have to think about a little bit harder. And what does that mean from an energy level, from a effort level of your team? And if someone's not willing to build that long-term collaborative relationship, we have to think about that. And that is something that is probably one of my biggest takeaways from the program.
So Dale, really interesting that transactional relationship versus that individual who wants to go deep. How do you know? What are the indicators?
For me, there's usually two. The first one is, what types of questions are they asking? Or did they do their homework on BDO? Did they do their homework on me? Were they willing to invest their own time to learn more about who they were going to be having a call with, and what value we and my team could bring? If someone hasn't done that, they may not be someone who is really looking for a longer term relationship. And then the second kind of indicator for me is their follow up.
Hmm.
I'm not saying everyone is going to respond to your email or your phone call within 12 or 24 hours, but if someone's pushing you off and or they're making excuses as to why, that's very telling as to their level of interest in being responsive to you and your needs. And if they're not being responsive now, 6 months down the road, when you're engaged with them and you're working on a project and have a difficult challenge come up, they're probably not going to be any more engaged at that point than they were at the beginning.
Wow.
So those are things that I look at.
Dale, those are great indicators, and you're mature into your deeper into your career, so you're probably able to read the tea leaves a little bit more thoughtfully than you did 15, 20 years ago. And the reality is, we have to make choices. We have to place some bets. The relationship game is a two-way street. It's not just a one way, and it's purely hierarchical, client vendor.
Yeah.
Right. We want to look for partnership. And so those two indicators that you just mentioned are fantastic. And for our audience, listen, pay attention. I'll bet though, and you said it, you're not necessarily going to throw in the towel on that, what is
Sure.
perceived early on in the transactional type relationship. I'll bet there's been some situations where you were able to maybe flip the script. What it appeared to be transactional with some investment of yourself and your team and relationship building, you were able to kind of get that person over the hump and flip it. Has that been the case?
It has. It has. And those sometimes can be the most rewarding. As I said, we don't always exclude those transactional relationships or walk away from them. But when you have one that you really want to invest in, the moment you start showing your value, number one, that you can provide value, you can alleviate the other person's problems, you start to build a relationship. And then as trust builds, that's when, in my opinion, the magic sauce starts to get made, right? You're delivering on what you said you're going to deliver on. You're adding value to my organization and to me personally. And now it's a little bit of, what else can you do for me? And you know what? Yeah, I'm happy to go out and spend some time getting to know you. So you can do it, but it comes down to quality of service, number one. And then number two, can you build that level of trust and do it in a time frame that aligns with either the engagement, the outcome that's desired, et cetera. But yeah, it can be done, but it just takes time and effort.
Yeah, it does. And time, that's the limited resource here. That's why I say we've got to place bets. We got to be smart about where we place those bets. You're probably going to lean into those relationships that early indicators are they want a partnership, right? I might, if I've got extra time, kind of try to flip those transactional, at least perceived upfront transactional, into more deeper strategic relationships. And we've all seen it, but they're harder. Let's be honest with you. How about results? You've been able to apply these. You were exposed to the program now for 8 years. Any examples of fairly significant results? Could be a relationship that flipped, could be deal flow.
Yeah. So one thing that we all have to think about when we start building relationships is time. All of this takes time. Mm-hmm. And as I reflect on a relationship, when I started my career in Columbus, Ohio, over 20 years ago, I built some really strong relationships. And frankly, I did it out of what I thought was right. And I just thought it was the right thing to do. Hmm. And those relationships, believe it or not, are paying dividends today. As some of the folks that were in my peer group 20 years ago have climbed through the ranks of organizations and taken on leadership roles, I'm now serving them in their leadership capacity, which is great. And I bring up that example because when I started those relationships, I hadn't done the program yet. I didn't even know what I was doing. I just knew that it was the right thing to do. And frankly, I was modeling the behaviors of those that I admired.
Hmm.
And then as I went through the program, it began to formalize those touch points. It began to help me reflect on who are those folks that, number one, I enjoy working with, right? And they trust me and I trust them. And how do we start to bridge that gap between we're great friends and we trust each other to how do we add value to each other's organizations and expand that relationship? And I think the program really helped me frame that and do it in a way that was authentic to the
Hmm.
relationship and frankly authentic to me because sometimes and I've been challenged with this throughout my career. You have that friend, right, that's in a leadership role somewhere and you want to make the ask, right, but you don't want to jeopardize the friendship
Hmm.
or put them in a place where they might feel uncomfortable. And I think that there's some questions that you raised throughout your program that really helped me get over that hump and ask those questions in a way that were somewhat neutral, giving them a way out, but yet making sure they understood that I was there to help and really interested in providing a additional service. So
Well, Dale, thank you for sharing that. Too often we're pushed out of the nest, go build relationships, and we think we got to close something tomorrow, right? And we're showing up not terribly authentic. We're showing up
mhm,
transactional versus kind of playing that long game. And you seem to be really, recognizing this is a long game. Your instincts were fantastic 20 years ago when you said, it's the right thing to do. Now, I don't have a formalized process per se at the time, but you just knew it was the right thing to do. And then over time, you began to realize, yeah, it was the right thing to do. And oh, by the way, some of the skills we learned in RX and through mentors have taught me that there is a process, there is a rigor. I've stayed top of mind. I've been able to shift tactical trusted advisors into being really a strategic trusted advisor relationships. Any particular uh, deals, big deals, or breakthrough moments that you've seen?
when I was talking about the 20-year relationship that I've had, I have a very very nice engagement with a former colleague and friend of mine in Columbus, Ohio, that really demonstrates and illustrates kind of that relationship building over time. They're a public company, uh, reached out with an ask, and not only is it great revenue for our firm, more importantly, we're providing tremendous value with some credits and incentives work that we've been able to implement for them, and BDO has certainly reaped the rewards of that. But frankly, that organization has reaped that reward times 10, and it's so cool to see when those friendships and relationships build and it works out in that way for everybody. So, that's one that comes to mind, Dave.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's other,
yeah,
but
yeah.
that's the one that's probably most recent for me.
Well, listen, we all are in this to make a living, provide for our families and such, but we're also probably in this to make a difference, to feel like
Absolutely.
we've helped people, and you certainly sound like you're doing that, and I really appreciate those examples. As we wind down, Dale, you're part of the relationship expansion alumni community in LinkedIn, and
Sure.
we're pushing content that's really unique and different to that group on the
Hmm.
LinkedIn platform than what is being seen on my personal page or the Gray Matters page. It's a little more tactical. We
Hmm.
want to continue to kind of nurture the learnings with that community. I think we've got over 350 people in the group. Why are you part of it?
Sure. For me, there's really two reasons. The first one is the reminders, right? I mean, you're great at posting follow-ups and reminders with respect to things that we've talked about through the training sessions and just bringing it top of mind. We're all busy. It's easy to forget sometimes the fundamentals.
Yeah.
So for me, seeing it and just being able to acknowledge, yep, I need to do that, or that next meeting, I need to ensure that I incorporate that. In fact, you alluded to it, maybe even unknowingly on this call, where you talked about setting the table. I think you just had a very recent post about how important the first 5 minutes of a
Hmm.
meeting is. And you just talked about that here, how, when you go into that first training session, you are very strategic and tactical in the way that you make everyone comfortable, right? And so that's an example of a reminder that I've used recently and just thought, you know what, I need that. So that's one example. The other is I like seeing people that are doing it still, right? It makes me feel like I'm not in it alone. Um, Sometimes within our own firm, and BDO is no different. You walk the halls and you hear about success, right? And people are winning here and there, and we're broadening our relationships. But sometimes being able to kind of go to the LinkedIn page and be reminded that it can be a grind and we're in it together is a refreshing thing for me.
Good,
So
good.
for me,
Dale,
that's what.
thank you. Thank you for being such a great contributor. I hope also that you're just feeling it's a network of individuals, of like-minded individuals who all have had a common experience, and that is the RX program. And we can support each other. We're all being asked to maybe step out of our comfort zone a little bit, whether we're audit or tax or supply chain or healthcare consulting or marketing consulting, human capital consulting, ops, strategy consulting, engineer, architects. We're all deep subject matter experts. And most of us have been asked to go find revenue, go help support the firm and growing and scaling. And it's not necessarily a natural act for us. So it's kind of nice to have others who can support each other. And we're hopefully you're getting that as well. Dale, I can't thank you enough. Having you on, spending 30 minutes with me, and then of course sharing your experience with your fellow alumni. I'm so grateful. Any final comments before we wrap up?
No, you know what? The program, obviously you can hear my voice and my inflections, hopefully, how valuable I think it really can be, especially when it's taken to heart. One thing that we didn't touch on today that I walked away from the program with, and you kind of touched on it, but very briefly, and that is making time. Making time to prepare for the meeting itself. But something else that you do a very nice job of is talking about blocking out time post meeting to ensure that you're delivering on what you said you were going to deliver on, continuing the relationship, and ensuring that what you said and did was authentic and trustworthy. So I appreciate the ask to join you today. It's always a pleasure. And thank you for your time and all the help you've given me and all those others that have gone through your program.
Dale, thank you. I look forward to continuing the conversation. Have a great day.
Looking forward to it. You too. Bye-bye.